Once we have this builder, we'll be in a really good position because then what we could do is we can go ahead and chop that out, and that'll clear this area out a good bit, which will also give us a nice amount of production and also a little bit of population growth. And then what we do afterwards is we go here, set up a mine here. Since this is going to be a permanent tile that we'll have to work with, that's just going to be there. So let's make use of that. We could also keep pushing out campus research grants because, as we recall, where we are and where we're focusing is to get industrialization. So that way we could develop some factories. We can maybe get a coal power plant going, and then our mines are going to only get better and better. So here's our next setup of goals. We're going to go here for the oil, go here for that, and that'll be our next series of goals to push for. I actually think the first thing we could build is that, into that, and then let's say a commercial hub would be excellent at this stage of the game. We have 2 industrial zones already in the area here and here. So I would say really the next thing we could do is further develop some of our infrastructure. So let's get that placed. And then what we could do is we could, potentially put down a forest here if we need or anything like that. But for now, we're not in a position where it's going to be really concerning. We should be able to go after this city, and this is a pretty well-developed city with a campus and a library. So that'll be a target for us to develop our science output a little bit more. We will move up 1. And then once we can clear that tile up, we'll move this up here, and then we'll be able to start surrounding the city, making it harder for it to heal. Yeah, let's start getting our trade routes opened up. The more trade routes we have, the better. So at this stage of the game, let's really start amping up our commercial hub production. Okay, so while we were not able to get the normal age we were looking for, we can, however, start really focusing on getting Heartbeat of Steam up and running. This will be our best bet for like a much better era.
All other lands found on the western side of the boundary. New opinions are always suspected, and usually opposed, without any other reason, but because they are not already common.
Let's make a push with invention. And I think that will help us a lot because we do want to be getting the next couple things going here. Confirm that. And confirm that. We have another wildcard slot. 2 more spies capacity. Cities gain 4 loyalty per turn and 1 amenity when your spy is in their territory. The good thing with that wonder is it also boosted our theater squares, so now we are +3 and +3, so that makes a big difference there. I'm actually going to put liberalism on for now because of the additional amenity. That'll boost all our yields up a little bit. Plus, in the meantime, we'll be able to get working on that entertainment complex and further develop our scenario. Let's get a coal power plant going. By the time we're actually going to be utilizing said plant, we'll be in a better position because at that point, we'll already have a lot of pressure for us. The dam should give us some nice bonuses as well because of the additional bit of production in these other tiles. This will go up to +5, and these will get boosted up nicely as well. So this is going to be a very good setup once we really have it fleshed out. So the good thing about having a free city like this is that we can eventually just get that worked up, and we already have full loyalty, so we can eventually position ourselves to potentially go after this city. It's going to take a lot more work. We're going to think about that much later on. And since it has a nicely upgraded little campus here, including the fact that it built for free, mind you, for free built a university. So this is even better. It's just going to continue to snowball our growth even more. Good. So once we have oil, the important thing is that we are focusing on getting infantry. So once we upgrade some more of our workshops and such, we can really exert more value out of that.
Engineering.
Excellent. So that'll give us a nice boost to our production. Chemistry would be very good for us though. So once we have that, let's see. That's actually only a couple things afterwards, so we can do that. This is pretty incredible. We have 290 science per turn, and it's only turn 173, so that's pretty solid. Yeah, let's get started on that. I mean, with this much production, we can actually just blast through some of these wonders, and that I think is going to be the critical play here. Let's get that up and running. We have an opportunity for an industry. There's diamond here, and we have diamond here. I would rather put an industry here because that's going to be more useful for our capital, so that'll be something we do next. Oh, another economic city-state. Right next to... Wait a minute. 1, 2, 3. That's actually kind of funny. I don't think I've ever seen a trio of economic city-states literally all next to each other. I wonder what the odds of that are. Despite it not obviously being a very cheap thing to go for, it's going to be better because then we can actually start getting that and having access to oil. The earlier we do that, the better, because then we can start saving up and actually converting some of our troops. And we have ourselves the next most important upgrade of vertical integration. And as we will see, our capital's growth will continue to get better. And that is really what's critical here. We're going to start really developing a bunch of factories, and those factories will add even more potential bonuses towards us. We have access in 3 turns to the research labs, which will further boost our science output, and that's going to, of course, be the next thing we work on. We could also go for this if we want, and then further develop into that. Getting access to that would be really good because then we could actually go into some really, really strong units. Ideally, what I want us to be doing is eventually getting rocket artillery that will make very quick work of a lot of the other cities. Put a couple into that just to boost our gold income a little bit. And of course, we are going to improve that. That's now going to give us additional oil per turn. So as we can see here, getting those bonuses, it'll show next turn that we're up to 6, so that is good. Okay, and now that we have that university up, we could quickly sneak in a nice little research lab. Might as well, right? So that means they're over by here. We do want to take a look and see what city we can build another district that we would like to have that district for. We can go to Charleston and we'll do that. Specifically because I can eventually go back here, chop this, and then transfer ownership to Charleston there. And that could be of extremely good use to us. That'll help chop out that research lab and also give us the option to eventually set up an industrial zone, which that industrial zone will be very powerful for us.
Did you ever build a castle in the air? Here is one.
All right. That's perfect. So that's the first wonder we were looking for. And let's get back to work on the research lab. Since we can see now that Canada is really pushing pretty hard to catch up to us, we're going to want to really start pushing ahead of them. We've been going back and forth between different tech trees and so on, depending on what our build needs were. But I think this will be really critical, is the rocket artillery. Because once we have access to rocketry, we're going to put some spaceports down and get started on the science victory setup. Awesome, so our first research labs started to come in. 2 of them just got completed, so as we can see, our science output just boosted up to 438 science per turn. So that's even better. And as compared to France, we have more than double her science. So I'd say that itself is a very good victory to get things really going. And let's quickly swap that to our city there. Chop that. And then immediately place down. There we go. And that'll be a really good setup for us. We're at 500 science per turn. It's just past turn 200, and we have 500 science per turn. That is truly incredible. And yes, so the research labs and other industrial era or later buildings that we're producing, of course, are going to give us Aerosaur. I'm not worried about getting Aeroscore specifically from those buildings. I do want to make sure I avoid getting Aeroscore from the Wonder because I know we will need it because that'll give us a good 4 and that'll help us get started. So, France finally thought it was time for her to declare war. Well, I would say that may not have been a good decision. It'll be important that we get rid of those cultists. It'll just kind of keep her further back and make it harder for really any of her advances to do anything against us. Artillery will be a good thing for us to train in the meantime. Can make a very quick little pivot here. We go to military training. So next turn, immediately get access to something that we need to change up. And we will go into mobilization, of course. And from that point, we should be ready for the next series of things to work on. Into the modern era, we are.
Rocket science has
Excellent.
been... I only understand French.
First things first, we're going to take 2 arms, Harpy of Steam, and reform the coinage. And now that we're in the next era, let's find that. Give us a nice little boost to our era score. And switch on Angkor Wat, get that done, because then we'll get some era score out of that at the same time. And then what we can do is, since we're going to be continuing to work on these artillery, at least this first artillery, we can then really start actually further developing that as we need.
The temple is surrounded by a moat, and access is by a single bridge.
There we go. So now is the time to take suzerainty of that. That'll give us a nice boost, and specifically is also going to give us more great people points, which will also add further into what we're looking for. So the timing of that is really quite good. Because this war is going to take away the effect of what Geneva can do for us, we're going to have some work to do to try to make this as fast a war as possible for trying to really take as many cities. So that'll be the way we make up for that pace loss. We're 1 turn away from getting this artillery, and that's pretty good. Once we actually start developing our siege units out of this city, it's going to be critical that we get them really strengthened and develop an army as soon as possible. So that way we can first take down that particular encampment, and then immediately set course towards the main capital here. And then any other city nearby, just start taking as fast as possible. That is actually critical. With our progress this episode, I'm really quite happy. We've gotten ourselves up to 500 science per turn, as we can see here. And our overall economy is in a very good state right now, and we're continuing to develop. In the bottom left part of the screen here, I'm also including our most recent upload, particularly the beginning of our Tokugawa run. So feel free to check that one out. Thank you all for watching, and if you feel like you've either learned something from this episode or gotten to enjoy some good times watching it, please feel free to subscribe. SpeeDMan out.